everyone, this is Chiwe from One Dog Wolf, and in this video we'll be making a baby seal amigurumi. For this project you're going to need white yarn, a size 3.75 millimeter crochet hook, a length of black embroidery thread, scissors, a ruler, cluster stuffing, and 6 millimeter safety eyes. Okay, let's get started. To start this project, we'll work 6 single crochets into the magic circle. And this is going to be a seamed project, so we want to make sure that our first stitch is big enough for us to work into when we join this round. We'll tighten the round and then work our hook into the first stitch of the round and then complete a single crochet. Complete a slip stitch. For the next round, we'll chain 1 and then following the pattern, it's 1 single crochet, and then we will increase twice. And then 1, and then increase twice again. And then at the end of this round, we're going to use the seamless join so that our seam doesn't travel too much. So you insert the hook into the first stitch of the round from back to front, grab your active loop, and pull the loop from front to back. Pull tight, and that's our join. And then we continue 1, and then 1, increase. Okay, and now is a good time to turn your work over and secure the magic circle, the end of the magic circle. Now that the end is secure with a short tail, we can continue on with the rounds in the seal. Right now I have completed round 9 of my seal. You can start to see a little bit of the shape. So the seam is down at the bottom. This is my seamless join. It's not completely seamless, but it is a straight seam and it doesn't wander too far. We're keeping the seam at the bottom, and then the top is the top of the seal, and then right here would be the seal's nose. If you look at it from the side, you can kind of see, the shape taking place. And round 9 it's the widest point in our body with 28 stitches, and at this point we're going to stop and put in our eyes. So the directions say to put in the eyes between rounds 4 and 5. So we count. This is our first round of 6 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So between these 2 rows, we're going to be putting our eyes facing forwards. Just make sure as long as it's on the same row, you'll be okay. And then if we want to check with a ruler, you can see that from center to center, the eyes are not quite at 1¼ inches apart. So that's about right. I finally ended up with a mouth that I like. This took a lot of time off camera just to get this right. I'm pretty picky about my facial expressions. I guess the thing to learn here is just don't get frustrated with how long this might take. I think working facial expressions usually is the biggest piece of any amigurumi that I make. Building the body itself isn't too bad. It's always the little details that take the longest. So take your time and then just play with it. You just have some black thread and a needle, and it's going to take a lot of ripping out and starting over, but you will get the face that you're happy with. And once you do have that, then you turn it over, and we're going to secure this face by just tying a knot. I'm not going to tuck these into the stitches because they are white and this is black and I don't want it to show in the front. And then I'm going to cut a short tail. Okay, so that's my seal face. That was probably the hardest part about this entire project. And then we're going to go back, find our previous join, and then continue. We are finished with row 9 and we're going to continue for another 19 rounds, and then you'll start to see the shape change a little bit because none of these rounds are completely symmetrical. We had said that row 9 was the widest point in the seal, and so row 10 we're going to start our first decrease. So after 10 single crochets, we're going to decrease by inserting our hook into the front loop of the next stitch and then the front loop of the stitch following that. So the front loop of 2 stitches, and then we're going to complete the single crochet. And then one more decrease into the front loop only, and then another front loop only, yarn over, pull up a loop, finish the single crochet. If I look at my sample and I look at it from the top, you can see that this doesn't come straight, it actually curves around a little bit. So in the pattern you'll see that happening where you start decreasing on one side and then slightly increasing or just not changing on the other side, so that it creates this very, very slight curve right to the end. If I feel like I don't have enough tension on my yarn to make the stitches as tight as I would like them, sometimes I wrap my yarn twice around my finger to give it a little bit more resistance as I work. In this next round, we're going to be decreasing from 18 stitches down to 17 stitches, and I just want to go over this very quickly. We're going to work 2, and then yes, in the pattern it does say it is an increase because I want to force the seal to bend a little bit in this direction. So that is an increase followed by 9 single crochets. And with 17 stitches in the round, I am going to stuff a little bit. I'm not going to finish all of the stuffing, but because the seal is already pretty deep, I'm going to stuff a little bit while I can still get to it. So I'm going to pull my active loop up a little so I don't lose it. and I can hook it around my thumb or just leave it. I like to hook it sometimes so it stays out of the way of the stuffing. And I've got a little bit of cluster stuffing here. Cluster is great for small amigurumi because they don't clump. It's definitely harder to put in, again, because they don't clump. It feels like you're pushing air, but it does go in. Okay, so now we've pre-stuffed it. Let's continue on with the decreases. Because there's stuffing inside, it is going to be a little harder to work your decreases. I wrap the yarn a few times around my finger, and then sometimes I like to just kind of squeeze this flat to be able to see my stitches a little clearer. Other times I will have a finger inside the piece to keep the stuffing away from my active stitch and also to give me a better hold. The next round is going to be a little bit different. Start with 2 single crochets, and then we're going to decrease. And then we will work 6 single crochets. And then we're going to work HDC together, an HDC and then a regular decrease. So a half double decrease, we're going to loop over the yarn over, sorry, and then again insert your needle into the front loop as we do with a regular single crochet decrease, and then into the front loop of the next stitch as well. Okay, then we pull through those 2 loops. Now we have 3 loops on our hook as in a regular half double crochet, and then we're going to finish this off. Okay, and then 1 half double crochet, and then 1 regular decrease. So a regular decrease is just inserting into the front loops of the 2 stitches, pulling up a loop, and then completing your single crochet. This round is also going to have a half double crochet together, so let's work through that together. Yarn over, and then just like a regular single crochet decrease, insert into the front loop of the next stitch, the front loop of the second stitch, yarn over, and bring a loop through those two stitches. Now you have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. And then we're going to finish this round with a half double crochet. And then when you work the seamless join, sometimes the first stitch is a little hard to get to because it curls into the back, so you have to flip it out a little bit to find that first stitch. If this is uncomfortable for you and it doesn't really work, you can always use a regular join. The regular join does travel a little bit, so the seam, it looks like it's traveling here, but I think if it was a regular join, it would have traveled a little bit more. Okay, so we have 10 stitches in this round. Now is a good time to finish stuffing the seal because as it gets smaller, we won't be able to put any more stuffing into it. I'm going to take some more stuffing, try to get as much of it in as I can. This is a piece where you can choose to overstuff if you like, or you can keep it a little squishier, a little softer. It's up to you. Some of them do better overstuffed, some of them do better understuffed. I think this one can be either. So as I play with it and as I adjust, the stuffing does come out the end, and that's okay. That just means I'm overstuffing it right now, and I can even put a little bit more in because we have 2 more rounds to go, and 2 more rounds to go before we close, and I need to have enough stuffing to fill those 2 rounds. And this isn't really the shape that we're looking for. We're not looking for a big bulge and then nothing in the back. But what happens is if you just adjust it, that stuffing's going to come out the back, and that's going to fill the last 2 rounds that we have to work. All right, let's finish the last 2 rounds in here and close it off. When things get really tight, I tend to accidentally skip the first stitch. Just make sure to count at the end of every at the end of every round, and make sure you have the right number of stitches and that you didn't accidentally skip one. And the last stitch. So I'm going to twist this first stitch out so that you can see it. There it is. And then grab your active yarn, pull it from front to back, and you've completed the final join. Okay, I'm going to tighten it so that everything's tight. And this is the last round, so we can close off the seal. I'm going to cut a tail, and then I'm going to pull this loop. I'm just going to pull the needle, and then the loop will follow. Thread the end onto a tapestry needle, and then we're going to do the amigurumi close, which is to work the needle through the front loops of every stitch in the round. And then you can pull tight. Now we adjust the stuffing inside so that it pushes into this tail. Because it is an amigurumi close, I am going to take the extra time to tie a knot just so that it doesn't come apart. And then I'm going to insert the needle back in, just have it come out somewhere along the body to tuck in. That hides my end. Cut the tail short and it'll get absorbed back into the piece. So now let's push all that stuffing that we had overstuffed with towards the end and then shape the seal a little bit. So now the front feels a lot looser and a lot squishier because there's actually stuffing into the back of the seal. Okay, so this is the body of the seal. It looks a little like a larva. That's okay. We're going to use the white yarn and continue working to make the fins. So for the fins, we're going to start with a 6-inch tail. We're just going to tie a regular slip knot because we're going to be working chains. I'm going to work 7 chains, starting from the 3rd chain from the hook. So that's 1, 2, 3 right here. I'm going to work a half double crochet, then another half double crochet in the next chain, and then a double crochet in each of the next 3 chains. So that's actually 1 flipper. From this point, I'm not going to fasten off, I'm just going to make 7 more chains. And then repeat exactly what I did here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then I'm going to cut a 6-inch tail and fasten this off. So how I fasten is I hold one end to give myself some tension, wrap, the yarn around the hook, bring it through that last active loop, pull down, and then so in effect you're creating a knot right at the end. So this is the tail fin, and I'm going to tie the beginning end and the tail end together. And then you can kind of choose which side you want on top. I like the right side of the crochet on top. Make sure that you're looking at the top of your seal. So I'm going to take the needle, I'm going to go downwards because eventually I want the knot to be on the bottom. So I want the tail like this. And then this is a bit of a, whatever works best for you. I'm just looping it through this gap in the tail again. So I'm looping it again. And now that I've made this loop, I'll probably just tie a knot to secure the tail. I mean, either way, however you find it works, you're sewing the tail onto the seal. And then once I've tied a knot, I can just insert my needle to somewhere underneath on the belly. Okay, and that tucks in your end. Cut close. Right? And so your tail is now connected. Now for the side fins, you do exactly the same thing, except you don't make two of them, you only make one. So you leave a tail like you did before, and just like the tail fin, we're going to work 7 chains, and then in the third chain from the hook, we work half double crochet, a half double crochet, and then 3 double crochets. And then cut a 6-inch tail, fasten off, I'm going to tie these 2 tails together. Okay, so I tied the 2 ends together, and then I'm going to use the 2 ends as one to sew it onto the seal. So the side fins are sewn onto the seal between rounds 8 and 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's going to be right at the widest point of the seal. And I'm going to want it probably level with the mouth. And then you just pick a point. So I've pulled the tail through a particular stitch and insert through that stitch one more time, and then I'm going to tie a knot with this tail. And that'll secure the fin to the body. I'm going to stick my needle through and bring the tail through the body to hide it. And then cut. So that's one tail ready. One way to weave the ends is to push the needle through sort of behind the stitches. It's on the inside. Okay, squish, and all the ends pop into the body. And that's your baby seal. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you really enjoy this project.